first thing you want to do is ask yourself, why do I want to attend graduate studies? There's a good reason for this. There are many reasons for this, and it changes based on where you are in your student experience, in your own study experience. Sometimes you want to make a change in your career. This is a really good reason to do a master's degree. The master's degrees are professional master's degrees that allow you to take advantage of previous experiences and previous knowledge and use that to its advantage. And so you're able to change your career path. Maybe you are a business student right now, but you want to get into data analytics. You can take advantage of those previous skills. There's a lot of quantitative skills, a lot of management skills, and you can tech up. So that is one example of how you can make a pivot in your career, in your studies. We also have career-related master's degrees. So some professions require it, right? If you need to be a doctor or you want to be a doctor, you need a medical degree, which is an advanced degree. If you want to go into any type of something like dentistry, again, you need an advanced degree. Law, same thing. So in order to move in with that career, you need to have that advanced degree. And then finally, a lot of people want the degree because it gives you a competitive advantage. This is not only financially, which is the truth. Oftentimes when you have a master's degree, according to the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics, somebody who earns a master's degree earns over $1 million more than somebody who earned a bachelor's degree. So that's a very good reason to go get a master's degree. But it also gives you an advantage in the job search, in the job market, and it gives you an advantage in moving up within an organization. So there are all really good reasons why you may want to, oops, I keep going in the wrong direction here, get a master's degree. Lots of types of degrees that you could choose from. MBA, Masters of Science, Masters of Arts. Some of the masters don't even have an MA or an MS or an MENG, a Masters of Engineering. Some of them may be just the title of the degree itself. For instance, a Masters of Information Systems. You have other advanced degrees, again, law or medical, JD, MD. And as you are beginning a graduate study search, you need to start asking yourself questions. Now, I see a lot of you here in the room, and I'm sure many of you online are taking notes. And that's a really, really important part of the graduate student search process. Every university is different. And you're going to hear that tonight, that even between two departments in Carnegie Mellon University, there are differences. So having very strong organization skills, creating an Excel file, knowing when the deadlines are for each individual program, all of this is going to be really important information to know and to keep track of. So start asking yourself questions. What kind of master's degree or graduate degree do I want? Do I want one that is full-time, part-time? Do I want one that's online, on campus? Do I want that US student experience? Also, am I looking for a big program? Am I looking for something a little bit more individualized? Are there opportunities for scholarship at this university? Are there opportunities for professional development? Do they have funding programs to send me to a conference or to allow me to participate in a hackathon or a case competition? And then finally, location. We want to know, is this, are you looking for an urban setting similar to Seoul, something a little bit smaller but still urban, something in the middle of nowhere, rural, and how long? Right? Do you want a 1-year master's degree, a 2-year master's degree? If you're thinking PhD, it could be a 4 to 6-year journey. So there's a lot to think about as you are considering your graduate studies.
I think it's really important to understand where you fit. What are your goals? What's your personality? What are your values? And finding a school that aligns with those things. Now, so for example, I was an international business major. So I wanted to study international business. So as I looked at schools, I looked for a school that wasn't too expensive, that had a major or a degree, that also had a really good track record in placing students in careers in international business. I also didn't want to live in too big of a city because I didn't want to pay a lot of rent. Like if you go to New York or Los Angeles, you'll pay a lot more money compared to Pittsburgh or West Lafayette, Indiana, where I've also worked before. And so those things are important. So knowing who you are first and then understanding what you want, and then finding the right program. And you do that by asking lots of questions. So, and talking to people that have gone to those schools. So that's the first step for us. I've worked at several different universities, and then the good thing is you've got LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably my favorite resource for identifying people from South Korea that attended your university. And they'll be able to give you some insights, and you'll be able to decide, oh, this is a good fit for me, or maybe not a good fit. Now we're going to talk about the application process for a few minutes. Every program is different. Even different universities within the university will have different requirements for getting in. Sometimes you'll hear things from your friends, but maybe it might not be the exact, the correct information. And I talked to lots of students that said, my friend said I could take the IELTS instead of the TOEFL. And that may or may not be true, but I would recommend as you go to the website and then you talk to individuals. Before we get into the details, at least from the business school perspective, when we look at an applicant, I look for two things. Well, actually, I look for three things. Number one, do you have the academic preparation to handle a very quantitative curriculum? Our program is very quantitatively focused. Carnegie Mellon is known as a very quantitative analytical program. So can you get through the program? Can you pass your classes? Second thing is, do you have an idea of your career goals, and can we help you achieve those goals? We don't want our students to graduate and not have great career outcomes. So we want to know, what are your goals and how can we help you achieve them from a career standpoint? Where do you want to work? How much money do you want to earn? What kind of position do you have? Can we help you? And number three, we want to make sure that you're going to be nice. You're going to be a friend to the other students in the program, that you're going to be happy, that you will not cheat on an exams, those kinds of things. So personality, does the personality fit for you? So first, academic preparation, career outcomes, and then are you a good fit for our school? Those are really the basic things we look at. And then we look at this information to help answer those questions.
All right, let's dive in. So the first thing that you're going to want to prepare are your transcripts. Now, that sounds really simple, but when you are studying outside of the United States, most United States universities require what is called an evaluation. Who's heard of an evaluation before? All right, so some universities in the US will require this at the very beginning stage of reviewing the application. Some will only require it before you enroll in the degree program. But no matter what, everybody is going to require an evaluation. So my number one recommendation to you is to do it at the beginning of the process. And that is because then you truly understand what your grades look like on the US grading scale. We follow a GPA, a 4.0 scale. And the 4.0 is actually helping us to then standardize all applicants, because everybody who's applying from the US is applying with a 4.0 scale. And we require every every international student to also do this. So no matter where you come from, Indonesia, Vietnam, South America, you name it, everybody's doing the evaluation so that it's a fair and equitable application review. This does come at a cost. So you do need to prepare for that. But once you've done the evaluation once, you can then have the report sent out many times, and it's a very small fee to then send it out many times. As I said, some universities won't require this right at the beginning. They will say, just send your unofficial transcripts, and they will do an in-house evaluation. But eventually they're going to say, we need the official transcript. We need the official evaluation because we need to confirm that you actually earned the degree that you say you earned. So do prepare for that. Some of the popular evaluation companies include WES, W-E-S, ECE, Education Credential Evaluators is what that stands for. Another popular one is Spantran. And if you've attended multiple universities, we want you to send transcripts from every university you've attended. So if you did a study abroad, you want to reach out and get the transcripts from the study abroad, because when you study abroad, for instance, when the grades come back to your home university, you don't actually get the grades, you just get the credit on your transcript. So we need to know the individual grades so that we can help to answer a lot of these questions that we're asking. And that way we can see the individual grades and courses that you have taken. Letters of recommendation. Yeah, jump in.
So once in a while, you might have a bad grade. Okay. That's okay. So let's say you have really good grades. So for example, I took organic chemistry. Because I'd never gotten a C grade. The A is the best, B is the second, and then C is kind of medium. That's okay. If you have one bad grade or two bad grades, we have an option so you can explain that. So maybe you were sick, or maybe you had a family member who was sick, or there was a death in the family, or there was some reason you have that grade. What we're going to look for is how did you overcome that challenge? So there's an opportunity to explain several bad grades. Now, if you have 4 years of bad grades, that's a different story. But if you have 1 or 2 bad grades, please don't say, oh, I can never go to that school, or I can't go to that graduate school because you had a bad grade. Please just explain it. You'll also have an opportunity in an exam. We require an entrance exam, GMAT or GRE or EA, the executive assessment. You have also an opportunity to show your skills by taking the exam. So don't let 1 or 2 bad grades on the transcript discourage you. Sure. This is really interesting. The recommender is an interesting, sometimes people say, oh, I know the governor of the state, or I know the president of the United States, and they're going to write me. But in reality, how well does that recommender know you? So I recommend for most business schools, they want someone to talk about your leadership. So a high position like the CEO of a company doesn't matter if the person doesn't know you well and can say, I know your leadership capability. I saw you manage a team. For us, we are looking more for someone who can vouch for your leadership. Now, other programs will look for your academic. They'll ask for a professor. So really finding out what is the program looking for. Is it academic references or is it leadership references? For us, it's more leadership. But I would strongly recommend, I can tell very, very quickly in the recommendation if this person really knows you or not. If it's a connection from one of your parents or if it's a government person, we can tell if they understand your capabilities and your strengths and your weaknesses. So please, my opinion, pick someone who knows your academic ability and your leadership ability, depending on what the program's looking for, not just an important name.
And as you can see, typically it's a minimum of 2 recommenders. Oftentimes you'll have the option to do a third, but most universities won't allow you to submit beyond what they request. And if you do, most likely they will push it to the side because, again, it has to be a fair process. So if somebody submits 5 and the other is only required to submit 3, it's unfair. So make sure that you're listening to the recommendations of the admissions offices for how many to submit.
Can I make one more point on that, David? Please make it really easy for your recommenders. So I appreciate when someone asks me to write a letter, they tell me, these are the 5 things I would like. These are the 3 things I would like covered. My internship at Google, my academics, and my service. These are the 3 things I want to emphasize. So you could even write a sample letter, or at least include the things, tell them when it's due, how they submit it, and what they should be covering. So make it really easy on your recommender. If you do that, that's another thing that will make them want to make the letter even better.
All right, we're going to talk about our resume or CV. How many of you have been told you have to have a 1-page resume? Less than I thought. Okay, so for the purposes, and I don't know if Tad and I are on the same page here, but for the purposes of a graduate application, it is perfectly fine to have bigger or longer than a 1-page resume. 2 pages is not a problem. 3 is a little bit too much, but this is your one chance to really get in front of the admissions committee. And there's a lot of information that you can put in there that is really useful information. Of course, we're looking for work experience or related experience. We are all offering management-related degrees. So oftentimes you want to make sure that you can show strong leadership, because in order to be a good manager, you have to be a good leader, and vice versa. So we're looking for those involvements on your university campus, in the community. What have you been doing also within the workplace? If you're going into a more technical degree program, we want to see your technical skills. What languages do you know how to program? If you're going into a cybersecurity program, what kind of security clearances do you have, if you're allowed to say? So there's a lot of information that you can provide. And then finally, we're also trying to get a sense of who you are as an individual. So adding in those hobbies, those extracurricular activities, those things that help make you, you, those are really important pieces of information so that we can make sure that you are the right fit for the university. You're going to kind of notice a trend here that we're going to start talking about, that is fit. And we run what is called a holistic application review process, meaning that there's not one thing that truly outweighs the other in the application process. All of it plays a role in telling a story of who you are as an individual and as an applicant. And so we want to know all of those pieces of information. There's not one thing we want you to leave out, so that we can truly get a sense of who you are.
And I'll add to that. I agree with what David said. The other thing is your resume should tell a story that makes sense. So sometimes I'll get an application and the person said, oh, I've worked in finance and I worked in marketing, which is okay. But I really want to know, okay, what do you want to do with that in the future? So I need to understand through your resume, okay, I've done marketing and I've done finance. I didn't like finance. I really want to go more into the analytical side of marketing. That's fine. But just tell us what that story is. Some resumes will say finance, 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 and I want to do finance. That's great. But it's okay if you're like, I've done this, I want to pivot. We just need to understand that and why you want to make that change. And that's okay. So it just needs the story, like David said, it's a story, but the story needs to make sense and the story needs to be told. Most really good stories, if you think of Star Wars, you know, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's usually someone who comes in and saves the day against evil Darth Vader, you know. So like, what are those things that you've learned through difficulty, and how does that contribute to your story?
So next up, we want to share about the essay. And this is where a lot of schools start to differentiate. So with the essay, some schools will provide a prompt that you need to write an answer to a question that they ask. And some give more of a open space for you to talk as a personal statement. Who are you? What are you interested in? What do you see yourself doing in 5, 10, 15 years from now? How can that university help you? Why is this the right fit? Why is the right time? Again, telling that story. If you have a prompt, you want to try and fit those pieces in as you answer the questions to the prompt, because that's really one of the things that they might be looking for, is how can you tell your story with making sure that there's very specific information that is covered.
So there are two different kinds of essays. We have a written essay and we have a video essay for our program. And a lot of business schools will have a video essay where they're going to ask you a question. They might give you the question in advance. They might not. So some of the video prompts, do you guys do video essays?
Is yours live?
No.
Okay. So we also do a video essay. That's a random selection of 50 questions that one will randomly.
Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah. So we do it a little differently. We ask you to share with us your career journey and your career goals. So we tell you what it is before. This is the biggest mistake that a lot of our international students do. The screen comes up. We see the face. Hello, my name is Bob. I like to study. I want to work at Google someday. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not what we're looking for. So we want something more conversational, not reading. I mean, you might have notes in front of you, but we want it to seem natural. We're also looking at your English, how fluent you are, but we want you to breathe and we want you to just share with us like you would a normal, you're not a robot. just a normal conversation with someone, and don't make it scripted, meaning don't read every single word exactly like it is on the page. But hi, my name is Ji-hoon, using one of our students, and I worked for 7 years at SK Technologies, looking to apply to your school because blah, blah, blah. And this is where I want to go for my career goals. I talked to an alum who went to your school and they really liked it. And anyway, just, you want to make the video very relaxed. Now, in some educational systems, that might be in Korea, maybe that's not something they value, but in the US system, anyway, we're looking for more a natural conversational approach for the video essay.
We're looking for how are you going to be a good ambassador to our degree program? So those communication skills are really valuable. And it goes beyond graduation being an ambassador, but also when you are currently there, how are you going to perform when it comes time to getting your internships and having these real interviews that you need to have? So we're already starting to look into the future as we are looking at our applicants.
I will say on the written essay, we can tell really quickly if an admission consultant wrote your essay and if you're perfect. No one's perfect. But sometimes I'll get an essay, I'm like, okay, this was written by an admissions consultant. It doesn't sound authentic. It doesn't sound like someone who's 21 or 24 wrote it, and you come across as perfect. Like, oh, you got the perfect grades, you went to the perfect school, you did community service 5 days a week. Authenticity matters, and it's okay not to be perfect. If you change, like this gentleman right here said, he changed schools, and maybe in the essay you say, I went to this school, wasn't what I wanted. I did some reflection and evaluation, and I decided to make a change. That's a positive thing for us if you can share it that way.
The last thing we'll mention, because it's on here on the screen and I know everyone's curious, is can I use AI? A lot of universities have different policies. AI is rapidly changing. What AI was yesterday is not what AI is today. But Carnegie Mellon University's stance on AI in terms of application at present is to not use AI in creation of your application essay. We are looking for your goals, not a computer's goals, not at what the AI thinks your goal is. We want to know, what do you want to do and how can you vocalize that? And we want to see, how do you think about those decisions and how do you write those decisions in a cohesive way? So we ask that you not use AI. Now, that's not to say that we don't encourage the use of AI when you're a student, because we do. We've got degrees that include AI, but at least for the application process, we ask that you don't. And we do have systems in place to also detect when AI is used.
You know, I don't think it's a bad thing to just use AI to get started. But again, if you strictly use AI, we'll generally be able to tell if it's inauthentic. We had an essay the other day and they used the word journey 3 times, or they used an unnatural word, and we're like, okay, this wasn't written by someone who really understands context. So it's not a bad thing to help you get started, but then put your authentic voice into the essay. Again, to be honest, if it's AI or if it's written by a consultant, I just discount the whole thing. Really, it doesn't help us make a good decision for you. So if you're going to spend the time and the money in applying for a program, write an essay. And I will tell you, maybe this is going to be crazy, but I have applicants who will send me their essay and say, what do you think? And I'm fine to take a few minutes and just say, oh, this is great. You're in the right direction. Or no, you probably need to change course there. So, and I've got cards. Even if you don't apply to Carnegie Mellon, I don't care. If you want me to take a few minutes and look at your essay, I'm happy to give you some quick feedback on the direction, regardless of where you go to school. Just to say, keep going, or you might want to consider a shift.
Yeah, English language proficiency. So, and I know we're coming close here to time, so we'll start to wrap up soon. The three most popular exams, and I don't know for you, Ted, if you accept Duolingo as well, but so we allow TOEFL, IELTS, and Duolingo. This exam is a way for you to show us what your English proficiency skills are. Carnegie Mellon is not easy to get into, and it's not easy once you are there. It is fast-paced coursework. There's a lot of interaction in the classes themselves that we ask you to share your thoughts, share your experiences, work in teams. And so we do have a rather high threshold for entry into our degree programs for Carnegie Mellon University, at least at the Heinz College. And I don't know about at Tepper, but at a number of other universities, we do accept my best scores. So if you are taking, for instance, the TOEFL exam, you got a 25 on all sections except for speaking, you got an 18. And then the next time you take it, you got a 23 in speaking. We'll accept the combination of the highest scores that you've taken because at least you've received it once. We're going to honor that. So there are ways that you can strengthen your scores. Similar to what Tad was sharing earlier, we have the video essay to help show your English speaking skills. This does require some preparation, so don't just decide tomorrow to take the exam. At least do a few practice rounds. I know they have opportunity here at EducationUSA to practice and to get involved. So I encourage you to chat with Minjae and the team here about what they can do as well to support you.
Duolingo was started at Carnegie Mellon University,
Yeah.
and the headquarters are just across the street from our university. So shameless plug.
We have to. If Tad didn't, I would. It's also the cheapest option, I will say. All right, GRE GMAT. Who wants to take it?
Not me. I took it 3 times.
I was twice. It's okay to take it multiple times. And similarly, we provided my best score for that, at least at the Heinz College. Now, COVID changed a lot of things related to the GRE and the GMAT. When COVID occurred, access to the exam was limited, and a lot of universities put in place a waiver for the GRE or the GMAT. We did at Carnegie Mellon. I know we did at the Heinz College in particular. But now that we have the data and we are Carnegie Mellon and we like to use the data to make decisions, we are seeing that students struggled for those who did not take the GRE or the GMAT and those who didn't have the proper quantitative skills. And so while we used to offer a waiver at the Heinz College, and I think we're seeing this across many universities now, they are starting to require the GRE back in or the GMAT back in again. Some universities and some degree programs offer waiver opportunities, things that you can do to show that you are not necessarily needing to take it. So for instance, at the Heinz College, and probably similarly to Tepper, they're quantitative degree programs. So if you have an A in statistics, an A in calculus, you have related work experience, these things can come into play to help create a reason for you to be eligible for a GRE or GMAT waiver. So you need to ask the individual university, the individual school, learn, again, what their policy is, because each program will be different. But it is a good indicator in success within the graduate studies. And at least for our purposes at the Heinz College, it plays a role in a merit-based scholarship review as well.
That's true. And it's also helpful to understand how these tests or test scores are used in rankings. So for example, for us, the GMAT GRE is reported in rankings. The executive assessment is not. So if you have more work experience and we need a test, we're probably going to encourage you to take the executive assessment. If you have less work experience, we're going to encourage the GMAT or the GRE. So understanding how is the test used and the rankings that you're looking at, I think is helpful. And you can ask the admissions officer, what, based on my work experience, based on my transcripts, what test do you recommend I take before you spend lots of money and lots of time and maybe taking the wrong test find out maybe what the school would prefer. Sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they won't. I'll be very transparent.
For an MBA, what's more popular?
We have about 50% GMAT, 50% GRE. Engineers generally will take the GRE over the GMAT. In the rankings, though, we get a little more credit for the GMAT versus the GRE. The EA is not counted. So if you have good work experience and good undergraduate experience, we'll either give you the waiver or ask you to take the EA, the executive assessment. So
for our programs, that are not an MBA, but kind of business aligned, we require the GRE. So I'd say, though, we accept both GRE and GMAT, but I'd say about 95% of our applicants take the GRE. And the rest are somewhat also considering MBA. So we allow them to take GMAT. And that way they only have to pay for one exam.
So the GMAT is just for business schools. The GRE is for almost all disciplines. So if you're debating between business and cybersecurity, I would take the GRE because the GRE will cover most, if not all, disciplines. The GMAT only covers business. So if you're debating, I would take the GRE.
If you've not explored these exams before, they are very different and they require different preparation. So again, you need to identify that in advance so that you prepare for the right exam the right way.
Yeah, and I would take 6 practice exams, at least 6 to 8 practice exams. That seems excessive, but someone will say, oh, I took 1 practice exam, I got in there and I didn't do as expected. If you take 6 to 8 practice exams, there will be no surprises when you take the real test. And the test is expensive. It's between $200 and $300. With computer, there are plenty of tests that you can purchase in a prep book, or even like a consulting company will help you, but at least take 6 to 8 practice exams with GMAT or GRE, so you don't have any surprises.
Another plug for Education USA. They have resources here to help you with that. And then lastly, about these exams, if you are considering a PhD, oftentimes no waivers are provided for the PhD programs. You generally are required. And
at least my discipline, you're going to be in the 90th to 95th percentile for PhDs.
All right. So I hope that was helpful. Tad talked about this earlier, but here are some good characteristics for a successful applicant. I think they are across the board for any university you're considering. We want to see strong commitment of leadership. We want to see clear and defined goals. I think for me, that's probably the most important one. A master's degree is a professional degree. The idea is that you're trying to achieve a goal with this. And so we want to know, what is that goal? What do you see yourself doing again, 5, 10, 15 years from now, and why this degree program? We also recognize that in the education space, your goals may change. You may learn a new skill. You may want to change, into a different, you're doing finance now, you want to do consulting. That's okay. But at least at the onset of the degree when you're applying, that you can explain to us why this program, why now.
The other thing I would add, just tell you how at least our admissions committees go. We have a file, we look at the things, and we all discuss the applicant. If someone on the committee has a relationship with you, it's so much easier. So it's not possible with all programs, but if you can have some type of relationship with someone on the committee, an admissions officer, that's helpful. So for me, when I come to these things, I talk to someone and then someone helps me. Oh, I'm going to use Jiho because that's one of our students. Jiho from South Korea worked for Google for 6 years and then wants to come to Carnegie Mellon because of X, and they want to participate in this activity. And then I remember, and then I get to the admissions committee. I'm like, oh yeah, I met Jiho in Korea. Great English, great leadership, super nice student. It makes it so much easier than you're just a nameless. Well, you're not a nameless face, but if someone on the committee has some type of personal reference for you, that helps. Now, some programs have thousands, like computer science at Carnegie Mellon will have 5,000 applicants for 20 slots. That's not going to be possible. But where we're a smaller program, we only met like 150 to 200 students a year in our full-time MBA. A relationship with an admissions officer is possible.
Yes. I mentioned that earlier. It's a holistic review process. Everything counts. We want to know everything we can about you. So put your best foot forward as you are working through your application. But there are always ways that you can strengthen your application. If you are still in school, keep working hard. Prepare for those exams. Get relevant experience. Speak with your recommenders. Fill out that optional essay if there are anomalies. And apply by the deadline. All of these things will help strengthen your application and improve your odds. Right, now we're going to pivot shortly here before we wrap up and share just a brief information about our degree programs. But there are scholarship opportunities for international students. They are merit-based. Same for you?
Yes. Yes, not need-based. Some programs are need-based, some are merit-based, some are a mix. We are merit-based.
Most universities who provide scholarship to international students will offer a merit-based, not a need-based. But again, that is on an individual basis for the university. And you need to explore what they look like. But for a merit-based scholarship, similar to the application, everything counts. Everything tells that story of who you are. And a lot of the time students will say to me, well, hey, David, what can I, how much money will I get if I apply? And that I can't answer. And the reason I can't answer it is because I don't know at the time of talking with you what your profile looks like. And unfortunately, I don't know what the rest of the class who's applying looks like. So what you can do is put your best foot forward and know that everything counts. And these are some of the things that we are in particular looking at, though, when we are reviewing for a merit-based scholarship.
Just know at least some programs, at least in business schools, you can negotiate your scholarship.
Same for us.
Maybe you applied for 3 programs and you got X amount here. The ranking's going to matter. So if you got more money at a higher ranked school, that's going to motivate us to try and maybe match that scholarship. We'll ask for proof for that scholarship, but don't be afraid to negotiate. If you get 20,000 from us and 40,000 from Emory, let us know. Let us compete for you. That's not true for all programs, but for many, at least the business schools, there is a negotiation process. So don't be afraid to ask for more money, but have a reason, like a competing offer,